Next point was a big surprise is loot trading. Loot trading. I'm very much gray here as well, in the gray area, where I understand where they're coming from. They explained the thought process, and it seems like a really good idea until I did hear, like on paper, it seems like a great idea. It's going to really relieve some congestion in the when contacting GMs if you accidentally master loot a piece of gear to someone else, or if someone picks it up, if someone ninja loots it, for instance. But someone did come up with the point, Alex came up with the point, in a very specific scenario, but obviously it's possible when you have millions of players, in that guild runs with a few pug players in there, instead of, for instance, he used the Dowren's example. If Dowren's drops and you want to give it to your warriors and rogues, but you have a few pugs in there who also want it, then the mages, the druids, like anyone who doesn't need Dowren's but is in the guild group, will also need on it. And then if they win it, they'll just trade it to the warriors and the rogues within their own guild. It's very specific, and I'm sure there's like a million other niche examples like that. But yeah, I think he also came up with the idea, a good workaround is that loot trading is only available in 40-man raids. So only within, 40-man raids is loot trading possible. Ninja looters, now, there won't be, I had a thought, it's gone now. You get my point though. In that, really, the only point where it's actually useful is those 40-man raids where the guild leader or whoever dishes out the loot accidentally master loots to the wrong person. If somebody needs on a piece of loot in a dungeon, that person is most likely a ninja looter, and they're not going to give back the loot anyway. So, it's sort of it's a non-issue at that point of having loot trading. So I think within 40-man raids only, loot trading should be available. And I would like to hear your ideas about more workarounds, or even why loot trading is an absolute necessity, why there is no workaround without creating more problems. I like to hear both sides of the spectrum. It would be very, very enlightening. So that's loot trading. The next one was, communication. Yes, that's right. Now that the back end stuff is done, I think the reason why we haven't had many questions answered is because they're not working on the questions. They showed off what they were doing at BlizzCon, sort of their back end, how they fixed some of the problems, and their workarounds for certain other problems. And I think about why questions haven't been answered, and that's probably why. It's because they haven't been working on our questions and the ideas surrounding them. They've purely been working on the back end stuff, which is, I reckon, the meat of the problem. The meat of making Classic WoW a possibility is all back-end stuff, data, code, art, whatever. And now that they can get to more tangible things like quests, loot, raids, dungeons, PvP, things like that, we will, since those are the categories of our questions, raid, is raids going to be buffed, PvP, some kind of PvP question, like, is there going to be itemized progression? Things of that nature, I think we will get answers to within the next however long, few months before release. Because now that they're working on that kind of stuff, I think we'll have our answers. I think it's because we haven't had our questions answered is because they didn't know what the fuck they were doing for, like, itemized progression. They didn't know what they were doing for their raids, their dungeons, whatever else. But now that they're actively working on this stuff, possibly taking community feedback and implementing it, I think we're going to have a lot of communication between the community and the team now, which is good. I think the only reason why we haven't is because how can we help them in the back end? Like, there's probably only a handful amount of people in the community that knows what they're actually doing in the back end and can actually can maybe give some feedback. But the thing is, they have all that data, so there's no real community involvement in that end. So that's why I think there has been so little communication, and why I think we're going to have a lot fuller communication moving forward once they start doing the more content-based ideas of the game, like raids, dungeons, PvP, and all that good stuff, quests and stuff like that. Yeah, I think we should continue asking our questions in a respectful, constructive manner, and not in a toxic manner, and voice our concerns if something isn't to the quality of what we expect. Next point was my thoughts on the demo. The problem is I don't really have concrete thoughts because everything is up in the air. It is, by definition, a demonstration of what they're trying to do, and it in itself was a kind of a mini testing phase. That's why we started at level 15 instead of level 1, is because they want to test some of the things on the back end. So like data values, animations, models, lighting, shaders, whatever they've been working on the back end, they can look at more concretely at a higher level. Things like pet pathing, whatever, mob AI, mob loot, damage values, quest item drop values, things like that. That's what they've been working on. That's what they're trying to. That's what they're looking for, basically. That's what they've been trying to test, make sure everything works on the back end. That's probably why we didn't get Dead Mines or Wailing Caverns in the demos, because they haven't started dungeons at all. I feel like the demo was kind of tacked on, because if I was Blizzard, or if at least I was coming up with the ideas, whoever's the leader over there, which I think is Ian, I'm not sure, I would say, and if I knew this demo, we wanted this demo out months in advance, maybe 6 months, BlizzCon 2018, we're going to have a demo. How would I handle it? That's a good idea. I had a concrete thought, but now I'm kind of a bit more ambiguous. I would say, because I feel like people have been kind of bored with the demo because it's just questing. That's it. And some dueling. That is literally it. I feel like if I were the leader and we knew about the demo in advance, I would say put in dungeons. And if possible, world PvP. One area that I thought that was kind of interesting that they should have, I reckon, started with, and not just Barrens and Westfall, but I reckon Ashenvale. Obviously, you don't really have any dungeons in Ashenvale, maybe. Oh, no, actually, no, they do. They have Black Fathom Deeps. That's right. So, yeah, Ashenvale be a fantastic starting area, because you have lots of quests. You have lots of Alliance quests. I'm not really sure about Horde quests. I think there should be enough Horde quests. But you have a dungeon of Black Fathom Deeps, and it's a neutral zone. So, you have world PvP. I think that would have been a far more interesting way to go about it, instead of just having two separate zones where quests are the only thing to do. If they had the time, I would have started with Ashenvale, and then you have everything you have now and more. You have the dungeon, then you have world PvP. I think world PvP, and if they had come out with world PvP and at least one dungeon, it would have sold so many more virtual tickets, because they came out with what they were coming out with, on a post saying we're going to start at level 15 and it's just going to be questing, and they'll be dueling. That's pretty much all they said, and people were pretty lackluster about it. And I think because a lot of opinions I heard was, why would we pay $50, or if you're Australian, $50 for the demo when we can do that on the private server and more, which is it's a good point. Obviously, the reason I paid for it is to see where they're at, And I also wanted to watch the panels as well, which is very interesting. But I completely understand where the community was coming from when they said that what they gave us was pretty lackluster. I think it was definitely tacked on. I think, because I feel like if they knew about it many more months in advance, they could have planned much more content for the demo. So I feel like it was rushed, it was tacked on. That's not a bad thing. I don't think, like, don't get me wrong, I don't think it's a bad thing that it was tacked on at the end. I appreciate it. I absolutely do. But I think if they had more foresight, they could have done more, basically is what I'm saying. So that was my I didn't actually give my thoughts about the demo. At first, I didn't like the demo, but because I only played it for 30 minutes, and then I logged off. And then a few hours, I thought about it. I was like, okay, these small things, they're not done. Like, some things I had problems with was obviously the raid frames. At first, I did not like the new, what didn't I like? What were they called? Enemy plates, the enemy plates. I did not like the updated enemy plates. And obviously, as I said before, the big one for me was the battle text. I hate the new battle text. And out of everything in the demo, I could live with everything else. Raid frames, I mean, if they had raid frames out in Classic, I wouldn't care that much, because add-ons do the exact same thing, right? I mean, it's not mind-blowing, game-changing, it's like, whoa, this is insane, we can see players' buffs and debuffs. No, I mean, we could do that before with add-ons, like Lunar Frames does all that anyway. So it's not like if they came out with raid frames, I would not, like, it wouldn't kill me. I don't want it, but it wouldn't kill me. But I really can't really give an honest review, like a sort of concrete review, because there are some things I didn't like, obviously, but the thing is, the things I don't like are things that are obviously going to be changed later on. I mean, there are so many things that they have yet to do. So my review of the demo was, I loved it. I loved it, absolutely. Given, like, taking it at face value, I think it was a great addition, and it really showed the community where they're at. Obviously, you have those toxic players who picked on literally everything about a demo, right? You get those people. I don't want to associate with those people. I don't like those people. So, yeah, demo review, not concrete. I loved it for what it was, basically. So moving on, the big news was the content patches and the staggered content release. This is something that I have a big problem with, unless the idea that I came up with is the actual truth. So if you don't know, you've probably seen the pictures where Ian showed us 4 phases of the content releases. If I remember correctly, I'm gonna try to remember each phase and what was in them. Phase 1, which a lot of people assume is release day, they're gonna come out with a Nixia Molten Core, perfectly fine. And then some things that raised a lot of eyebrows was they're gonna come out with Kazakh, Azure Ghosts, and Diamol. And I think they're not stupid enough to do that. I don't think they're gonna. I think, and this is the idea that I came up with, that I haven't seen anywhere else. I'm sure many people have come up with the same sort of thought, is that phase 1 doesn't mean launch day. I think it means a period of time. Since there were 4 phases, it perfectly works into a 6 month phase per phase, which will be a perfect 2-year cycle, which I think is perfectly fine. 2 years for the whole game is I think that's almost perfect time frame. So I think phase 1 is the very first 6 months, from day 1, from launch day to 6 months down the line. That is phase 1. So it doesn't mean we're getting Diamol on launch or Maraudon. They didn't actually have Maraudon on the picture, but obviously we know Maraudon comes out before Diamol. I feel like having, so like Azure Ghost, Kazakh, Maraudon, Diamol, they're all going to come out within 6 months. So it could be, Maraudon comes out maybe, I think vanilla, it was like a month or thereabouts before Maraudon came out. I don't know if they're going to do that to begin with. I do like Maraudon as a mage. There is a bit of a point of some of these cheesy mages would love it. Obviously, people who know about the mage Maraudon farming from 46 to potentially 53 or 54. We go up to 52 because that's when you can start Diamol farming from 52 to 60, which is why obviously Diamol coming out at launch would be a huge problem. Because mages will be so fucking loaded with the gold by the time they hit 60. It will be insane. Like, they will level faster than everyone else, and they will have more gold than everybody else. And they will be selling high-level herbs before everyone else, since Diamol. The Diamol farm gets you, like, Dream Foil, Grom's Blood, Ghost Mushroom, pretty much every important herb you can get from Diamol. And so that will be a huge problem. Personally speaking, as a maid, I'm playing a mage, it's a huge problem. I don't want that. As selfish as I think a lot of the mages are going to be, I want to be a fair player and to not have these huge advantages right off the bat. I think Diamol farming 1 month down the line, it was in vanilla, I've never seen a mage from, like, I've never seen a video from 2005 where a mage does the Diamol farm. So maybe they thought about that in vanilla. Maybe it's a private server thing. We don't know. Maybe even Diamol farming isn't actually feasible, because maybe the values and the mob placements aren't actually Blizz-like. So, but let's just assume that they are. Coming out with Maraudon Diamol at launch would be a bad idea. Maraudon, not so much. It's not a big deal, but I don't know. It's one of those things where, like, if they come out with it like 3 weeks down the line, or if they come out with it at launch, not a big deal. I don't care. Diamol is a big one. Like, it should not come out at launch. That's one that I'm a firm believer of. And I don't think they are. I think they understand. I think they really understand why that would be a bad idea, which is why I think phase 1 doesn't mean launch day. I think it means within the first 6 months. So Diamol, Kazak, Azure Ghost, Maraudon all come out within 6 months and not at launch. And maybe they are, because they were talking about sort of being fluid with the with the launch of certain things. Like, Ian talked about releasing on Courage when players were ready. He just said players. I think it means when the majority of raiders have BWL on farm, they're going to release on Courage. And when maybe not majority, but when they believe a good amount of players have on Courage on farm, they're going to release Naxxramas. So they could be pretty fluid with these release dates. So Diamol could be 3 weeks down the line. It could be 2 months down the line, which was, I think, more Blizz-like. I think it was about 2 months, maybe 3 months. I'm not sure. Like, they can do whatever they want within 6 months, I reckon. Like, Azure Ghost, Kazak will all come in. I think they will come in, like, at the latter end. I think because they need to kind of spread this content out over 6 months. So I think it'll be like Onyxia Molten Core out on launch, as it was, and then Maraudon maybe 2 weeks, maybe 1 week, or maybe at launch, and then Diamol maybe a month and a half down the line. Maybe if they want to split up Kazak and Azure goes, maybe Kazak 3 months down the line, Azure goes 4 months down the line, and then for the next 2 months, maybe don't have anything. Allow people to play the content that they have available without overloading them, which I think is important. And then phase 2, if I remember correctly, they had BWL, BGs, and PvP rewards, and I'm going to assume the honor system. This, I'm going to assume the honor system. However, I want the honor system to come out within the first 6 months, not with BGs. Obviously, I'm not saying BWL. Oh, and also Zul'Gurub was in phase 2 as well. I forgot about that. Obviously, over 6 months, I think it's perfect. I think it's a perfect thing. I think the honor system coming out when BWL comes out is fine, and then maybe BGs, maybe another month after that. I was a person who actually wanted the honor system out at launch, but hearing some people's concerns, I actually agree that it should not be out at launch, and because they're like ranking super quickly, and you're going to get your Grand Marshal or High Warlord set and weapons, right, and that could trivialize a lot of further content for the people who do that kind of stuff. I agree that honor shouldn't be out. Plus, I think from a sort of authentic vanilla experience standpoint, I think then there'll be 3 stages of PvP. There will be world PvP, and people will do world PvP just for the sake of it, just for world PvP, just to kill some horde scum, right? And then there will be the honor system, but still no battlegrounds. In that people will PvP for a more there'll be an endpoint, right? There's a goal to their PvP. And then of course BGs, that's where they can really farm up honor really quickly and try to rank the remainders of their ranks, I guess, for the rank 14 gear. I think they need to, I think they do need to split up. I do like this 3 phases to PvP, and that world PvP just for its own stake, and then world PvP for honor, and then BGs and world PvP for honor as well. I think that is the best way of going about it. Obviously, as I think the phases just mean a period of time. So obviously Zul'Gurub won't come out on BWL. I think that would be a huge mistake, and I think that is something that they're not so stupid that they're gonna make. It's not a mistake they're gonna make. I think it'll be like BWL, and the honor system will come out at the start of phase 2, and then BGs. And when they say PvP rewards, and I guess like with BGs, let's go back to BGs. Are they gonna release every BG, all 3 of them, or because I believe it was AV and Warsong Gulch, and then Arathi Basin came later. Is that what they're going to do, or are they going to release them all at once? And when you have AV, and when you have PvP rewards, does that mean Warsong Gulch rewards, Alterac Valley rewards, and Arathi Basin rewards are all at the same time? That could be super duper interesting. I honestly, to be absolutely honest, I don't think they should release every battleground at the same time, and have PvP rewards across all the battlegrounds and across all the factions, because then people are going to be split among all the battlegrounds. I guess it depends on. Actually, no. Okay, thinking about it now, it's not that much of a bad idea, because they're obviously going to have PvP weekends, and that's where people will focus their attention. What I was thinking is that people are going to split their attention among all 3 battlegrounds, and we're going to have long queues because, people have split themselves 3 ways. But if they bring out like Warsong Gulch weekend when battlegrounds come out, everyone's going to go Warsong Gulch, and queues will be short and games will be plentiful. So I think that's how they should do it. Really try to bring the community together instead of trying to split them 3 ways. I think is the best way of going about it. What else was phase 2? Phase 2 I think was just Zul'Gurub. So Zul'Gurub will hopefully come out, at the end period of phase 2, so 6 months after BWL, or even like 4 months, 5 months after BWL. I guess if it'll be fine if I were to